Thank you all once again for tuning in for another one of my fragrance reviews. Your continued support is very much appreciated, and I'm really pleased with all of the incredible positivity and kind sentiments which I've received over the previous few days. Now, today's fragrance, as we zoom in here today, is Valentino Uomo, which is an extremely masculine and commanding fragrance. It has a certain strength and potency to it, which I believe demands the respect from any others who smell it, and it also has a very addictive, seductive and unique overtone. With that poignancy, I can suggest that this is maybe more of a winter fragrance than a summer one, as its smell is certainly very rich and weighty. Lighter fragrances, of course, being more suited for the warmer weather of the spring/summertime. Definitely it is one that is best utilised if one is trying to appear more masculine, with its infusion of typically male scents. In truth also, in terms of the age demographic of this fragrance, I would say it is more for the mature man, due to its sophisticated classiness. A younger man who wants to wear this fragrance to be taken more seriously could also, however, benefit from it. In terms of the compliments which you can expect to receive from this fragrance, it would most likely be from more discerning people once again. It is not a fragrance that is as wide-rangingly appealing as a few other fragrances which I could name, and indeed which I have already reviewed upon this channel. But it does, however, garner its fair share of compliments from more mature people, it tends to be, who have a particular idea about just what a masculine man should smell like. As I alluded to before, I can definitely see a mature businessman wearing this fragrance day to day, whether he is indulging within important business meetings or board meetings as well, as it transmits that efficient, professional vibe. As ever, for those of you who are conscious of the price of this particular fragrance, we're looking at somewhere in the middle of the mainstream fragrances which I am reviewing, circa about £40 sterling in English money. So if you are looking to make something of an investment on a fragrance that speaks volumes about refinement and quality, then this, in my own humble opinion, is a solid and dependable pick. Within the circles that I frequent, again, it is once again a very rare and special fragrance, so you might not smell this upon any other people, or at least people who don't have such a classic or subtle taste. And if you are looking for a relatively unique scent to be perhaps your signature fragrance, then this could be precisely the concoction that you've been searching for. The longevity of that smell is also quite phenomenal. Even after quite some time, the dry down phase, as it is sometimes referred to, it retains the poignancy and clarity that it had upon a first spray. This is exceptionally useful, as it means you don't have to utilise multiple sprays during a day to top it up. And as I said, one of the other things that I will often find with other fragrances, certainly more cheap fragrances, is that if you do, you will find the original or initial smell dissipating during the working day, especially if you are quite busy or you're quite involved within physical exertions or activities, then that can be quite frustrating, especially, like I said, with some of the cheaper fragrances. But with Uomo, that incredible initial smell does definitely seem to stay, or, in terms of its longevity, it does seem to be very durable, even after those hours of physical exertion, whether you might be out in the garden, indulging in some gardening, or any other sort of physical exertions like sport. And as I said, principally within the winter seasons, which of course we are now currently in Great Britain in the winter months, but wherever you might be, and whenever you are experiencing some of those colder weathers and snaps, then you might well look to purchase this particular fragrance. Now, once again, as always, I would like to just talk and discuss the caveat which I have for each of these videos. In no way am I sponsored or incentivized by Valentino or any of the other fragrances which I review in these videos. These are just my own personal opinions and preferences, and opinions within or upon all the fragrances which I review. As ever, when you do test these particular fragrances, you may well have different opinions on there, and that's really all absolutely fine. And I'm trying to run a very respectful channel here for all of your different viewpoints and so forth, because we all do have different palettes in terms of what we find most appealing with scents. All I'm really doing here is just telling you that Valentino is, in my opinion, a very special fragrance, and all the different sort of connotations and principles which I believe that it adheres to as its within its fragrance. Now, as I said, originally this fragrance, and I've got quite large experience with this fragrance, because originally it was launched and landed in 2014, and ever since then, we're now obviously in 2019 at the time of recording, it has been a key part of my stable of fragrances due to its hauntingly special scent and, I believe, quite dynamic, thriving appeal. As usual, I've done the research so you guys don't have to through basenotes.net, and with this fragrance we're looking at the ingredients of top notes of bergamot and myrtle, heart notes of roasted coffee beans, chocolate and hazelnut, and base notes of leather and cedarwood. Now, when we look at those particular notes in greater detail, we're definitely confronted with quite a few overtly masculine undertones and overtones, particularly leather, and when we think often of rugged masculinity or maybe a man's man, they're often clothed in leather jackets. And of course with the coffee beans, again, that's quite a strong and overpowering smell, which potentially a masculine man would really be suitable for. Now, as I said, we're once again having to look aesthetically at the particular bottle, and we've obviously got the very chic gold plating to it, and of course the glass bottle, which, as I said, is definitely something which can house quite a considerable amount of the ingredients, and it is definitely something which you could obviously place on your shelf or wherever you might be looking to hold your fragrances, and it definitely does look very classy and sophisticated. When we are talking about these sort of fragrances, I think it is best, particularly if you are looking at something like this, as I said, a fragrance which, you know, typically you'd only use for the winter months, in my humble opinion. It is very important for you to know where to store these, typically in a sort of cool, place. Definitely not exposed to any light or any heat of whatsoever, because what that can do is that can definitely sully the overall smell or potency of the scent. And as I said, with something like Valentino, where each individual ingredient does combine so effervescently, it is very important that you don't damage the structural integrity of the fragrance. As I said, because the fragrance itself or the smell might not be quite as good or as potent as it has been in previous applications of that fragrance when you first open it. As you can see, I've still got quite a lot left of this bottle, so that will be going away after this particular video. Now, what I think, as I said, is that the bottle itself is very classic. For me, it looks like it might hold quite a large treasure within its confines, and it is definitely a very unusual shape compared with the other fragrances which I've reviewed, and it's quite considerably hefty when you sort of pick it up as well. So do be careful, as I said, with this particular fragrance. For me, it does reinforce what one might call the quintessential representation of the gentleman about town. It just demands command and respect from others who might smell you. Now, once again, we come to the overall rating of this particular fragrance at the end part of my video. Now, for this fragrance, I would probably give it a solid 7 out of 10. As I said, it is more of a winter fragrance, and it is not overly mass appealing compared to other fragrances which I will review and have reviewed in the past. However, if you do consider yourself or want to be perceived as a man's man, then in my own humble estimation, you should definitely consider checking out this fragrance, as it is certainly one which I, myself, have found extremely useful. Once again, guys, thank you so much for tuning in for this latest edition of my perfume journey. And of course, wherever you are, stay classy and enjoy yourselves. Many thanks.